Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi has been accused of fat-shaming his population after telling television producers to prevent obese presenters or guests from being broadcast on air. The former general complained about the number of overweight Egyptians he had seen on the streets and suggested physical education should be a core subject in school and university. After his controversial broadcast, el-Sisi rode on a bicycle to the military academy on the outskirts of Cairo to address recruits. He said recruits would not be able to graduate unless they reached a minimum fitness standard. However, critics of the Egyptian leader accused him of being an elitist, claiming much of the obesity is down to poverty and an increase in the price of fruit and vegetables. It is suggested el-Sisi's economic reforms have made cheaper junk food more attractive than fresh produce, which has increased in price. A survey by the University of Washington's Institute for Health Metrics and Evaluation in 2017 found that 1 in 3 Egyptians is obese. It found 35% of adults, some 19 million people in the country of 100 million, are obese, again the world's highest rate, as well as 10.2% of Egyptian children, or around 3.6 million. El-Sisi, who often tells Egyptians they must buckle down and accept hardships to get through hard times, said they must change their habits to shed their fat. The controversial leader said, "The second I walk into any place I look at things you cannot possibly imagine I would notice, and I ask myself, what is this? Who are these people? Why are these people not looking after themselves?" He derided Egyptians for not walking enough and, laughing, turned to his prime minister seated next to him and told him not to put on weight. Egypt's pro-government media prominently trumpeted his comments. Parliament, packed by his supporters, has said it intends to introduce legislation making physical education part of the core curriculum at schools. Similarly, his education minister said students taking a 10-stop ride on the Cairo metro should get off 2 stops early and walk to their destination as a form of exercise. In social media, possibly the only platform of relatively free speech left in Egypt, the response was more critical. Some said el-Sisi was removed from reality or speaks his mind without weighing his words first. A flood of jokes spilled forth on Twitter and Facebook, playing on the risks of being too fat under a president whose security forces have arrested thousands in a widespread crackdown against dissent. One joke that went viral told of people in a car sucking in their bellies as they approached a police checkpoint. Another has a man asking to hide at a friend's house from police until he loses weight. In another, a man informs on his overweight wife to authorities on the phone. Political analyst Amar Ali Hassan said the comments laid bare a great deal of elitism. He continued, "They are symptomatic of an authoritarian ruler who's convinced he's on a mission, that he alone knows what is in the public interest, while everyone else is ignorant of the lofty goals in his head." Since taking office in 2014, el-Sisi has depicted himself as trying to refashion Egypt into a prosperous, stable and modern nation. But he has made sure there is no one influential or brave enough to question any of his policies or offer alternatives. He once angrily told Egyptians to listen to him alone and shouted down a lawmaker who suggested delaying the lifting of subsidies. This month, he declared he did not allow feasibility studies to be the deciding factor on the multi-billion-dollar projects he has embarked on. Some of his policies have seen successes. The country is slowly recovering from the economic slump it suffered in the years after a 2011 uprising that toppled autocrat Hosni Mubarak. Security has improved. But El-Sisi has also sought to quash any opposition, jailing thousands of Islamists along with secular pro-democracy activists, silencing critics in the media, reversing freedoms won in the 2011 uprising, and winning a second term in office this year after authorities jailed potentially serious challengers or intimidated them out of the race. Some longtime El-Sisi critics commended him for drawing attention to the need to fight obesity. But they pointed out that Egypt's poor majority cannot afford to eat healthy when a diet of sugar and carbs is cheaper. Human rights lawyer Mohammed Zahri said El-Sisi needs to enable Egyptians to lose weight rather than ordering them to exercise. He needs to make healthy food available at low prices, set up venues where people can exercise and allow emergency obesity operations to be performed under the cover of the state's medical care system.